Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Edward Ahmed Mitchell, the Deputy Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations, welcoming you to today's episode of CAIR on Air, the Muslim Action Hour. Hope all of you are doing well and staying safe. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with our first guest, Brother Robert McCaw, the Government Affairs Director of CAIR National. Assalamu alaikum, Robert. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm really excited. We just got CAIR's pre-election survey results. We do this before every midterm and presidential election.
Alhamdulillah. That's why we've got you here, Robert. So today, inshallah, we're going to have two topics of conversation, both related to the election. First, we want to share with you a preview of our survey of American Muslim voters in relation to the 2020 presidential election. And we're going to give you one piece of data today, with a sneak preview, you could say, which is how Muslims have reacted to the first presidential debate between Vice President Biden and President Trump. And then after that, inshallah, we're going to talk about how white supremacism and anti-immigrant bigotry is playing such a significant role in this election, especially in the state of Minnesota, where the Somali community, the Muslim community, Representative Ilhan Omar, have come under vicious attack in recent weeks in the run-up to the election. So those will be our two topics, inshallah. We're going to start with Robert, discuss the survey and the debate, and then we'll bring on the Deputy Director of CAIR Minnesota, Brother Muhammad Ibrahim, to discuss what is going on in that state in relation to the election, inshallah, to all of the above. So, bismillah. Robert, first, tell us about the survey. You know, we do this during every presidential election year. Just tell us generally what the survey covers, and then we'll talk about the debate in particular, inshallah.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. This is a pre-election survey of voter attitudes. We look at registered Muslim voters. This is conducted by a third-party survey provider over landlines, calling people. The survey was two days ago. Last night, our survey went out, and we polled 846 Muslims that completed the survey. We actually reached out to tens of thousands of Muslims to get that number. And what we want to know is, what direction are Muslim voters thinking of for participating in the election, which party they're supporting, which presidential candidate they're supporting, where they are on a number of policy and social issues. We want to get a better understanding of Muslim voters. And that's just not for CAIR. We want candidates running for office to better understand the Muslim community. We want Muslims themselves to understand, what are my fellow Muslims in this country thinking in this anonymous survey. So it's just a real great insight into the Muslim voters' mind. So we're asking questions like, how likely is it, are you going to participate in the election? What national party do you primarily vote for? If the election was held today, who would be your presidential candidate that you're voting for? Are you liberal on social issues? Are you conservative on fiscal issues? And vice versa. When thinking about both major political parties, which ones are more concerned with the issues of racial inequality, accessible health care, religious freedom, treatment of immigrants? And, you know, the one question I'll preview right now is, we asked Muslim voters, thinking about last night's presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, who won the debate? And with that, 58.9% of Muslim voters, registered Muslim voters, thought that Joe Biden won the debate. 14.4% said they thought Donald Trump won the debate. And another 20% were very unsure, and just a small margin of 5% just didn't want to answer the question. But it really gives us a great insight.
The 20% number, yes. Is that normal to have that such a large number of people who are unsure about who won the debate, or is that just the result of how chaotic and confusing the debate was? Or do we normally see numbers that high in terms of the unsure? You know, I don't have an opinion, I'm not sure who won.
Usually when we have an unsure question, we usually have like 5 or 6% up there. I think the 20% really is in line with the rest of the American public that watched that election debate, and it was chaotic. It was a lot of interruptions, and, you know, Chris Wallace had a hard job in front of him, but, you know, someone needed to put the mic on Trump's microphone just so they could be an even-handedness in the debate, because there were so many interruptions. So
So
I
that can
think
explain why we had such a large number of people who are unsure who won the debate, because I mean, many people say no one won and no one lost. It was just bad for all involved. You know, I guess it's a matter of opinion. But so the bottom line,
it is. By the way,
yeah, go ahead.
those numbers of who thought won or lost the debate don't actually equally correspond to, which we'll reveal tomorrow, which candidate these Muslim voters are supporting in the election. So there might be more or less that support Joe Biden but thought he won or lost, and we'll parse those numbers tomorrow when we release our election report. So it should be fun.
Okay, sounds good, inshallah. So we'll be doing I guess a press conference or a video release tomorrow, and we'll be releasing the actual results, written results of the survey. And this will be a great snapshot, inshallah, of where the Muslim American community stands in terms of the 2020 election. We are now almost a month away from a very pivotal election, and as CAIR, our main goal here is to encourage everyone to be civically and politically engaged, to vote. We're nonpartisan, we're nonprofit. We don't tell you who to vote for. We just tell you that you should make your voice heard in the election. And one of the ways that Muslims can be influential is to turn out to vote. And so I'm really hoping to see that this poll will show a high level of intention to vote on November 3rd in the upcoming election, inshallah. So we look forward to seeing that, inshallah.
All right, thank you.
Good. Thank you so much, Robert. And we'll be talking to you tomorrow to learn more about the results, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah. Assalamu
alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So as you all know, the debate was a mess. It was chaotic, but there were moments of clarity. We all know the topic of white supremacism came up during the debate. We know what President Trump said about the Proud Boys, this far-right group. And we also know that in the days since, the issue of white supremacism has continued to play a major role in American society and in concerns about this election, particularly in the state of Minnesota. Over the past few weeks, the Muslim community, the Somali American community, and in particular Representative Ilhan Omar have come under just vicious attack from far-right extremists who are essentially weaponizing xenophobia and Islamophobia in the run-up to the elections this fall. So we want to bring on now the Deputy Director of CAIR Minnesota, Brother Muhammad Ibrahim, to discuss what in the world is going on in Minnesota with these attacks, from the Project Veritas nonsense to the remarks that President Trump made about immigrants just last night. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Muhammad. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm doing well, alhamdulillah. How are you, Brother Edward?
I'm good. Good to see you. So look, we want to talk about what's going on in Minnesota, because it's really not unique to Minnesota. I mean, this issue of racism and race being weaponized in the election, it's happening everywhere, but in particular in Minnesota, it seems. So can you talk to us first about the remarks that President Trump made last night about Minnesota being turned into a refugee camp? And again, we're nonpartisan, we're nonprofit, this is the President of the United States talking. So we're just talking about what this public official said about a state in our union and members of that state, citizens of that state. What did he say, and what's the community's reaction to it?
Yeah, and it's hard to even to answer that question without addressing the fact that there is an Islamophobia network that exists, that is there to demonize the religion of Islam and also the individuals that choose to practice Islam. So even after the debate last night, we learned this morning that the Trump administration, or the Trump campaign, spent about $10,000 on Facebook ads that is specifically targeting and demonizing Somali refugees. That was flagged to be a violation of Facebook's rules, and they were ultimately taken down and as a violation of the rules. So we know that Minnesota has a strong Muslim population, and their voices is pivotal to this historic election that is coming this November. And their tactics is to demonize and to make Somali Muslims, and especially Muslims in the state of Minnesota, to be this other group, and that we are they're trying to make us to seem that we are not a part of or we're not great contributors to the state of Minnesota. And we've seen a lot of support. We've seen a lot of individuals that came out to defend Somali Americans as well as Muslim Americans in the state of Minnesota. And the general response is that we know our value, our community understands our value, and this is something that is being done to divide us. But we are much stronger than that.
Alhamdulillah. So it sounds like the community itself is okay. No one's sitting here going for their tear boxes because President Trump said something mean about them. But is there a danger? I mean, is there a danger when the President of the United States, the highest public official in this country, makes claims about, Somali Americans or immigrants turning the state into a refugee camp? Does that put the community at any risk of danger? I mean, is this going to radicalize, if I can borrow a word that's often used in the media, is this going to radicalize people who President Trump, who listen to President Trump, engaging in violence? So you've had violence directed at the Muslim and Somali community there already. Is that a concern?
It is a huge concern. As we've seen about a month ago or so, we did have a Muslim imam in the city of Bloomington that was attacked and would have to get some medical attention. So we do see hate incidents, and there's been a huge rise in hate and race-based biased attacks on Muslims since the year of 2016. And that is something that we are weary of. And I do think that we're working on distributing some data that will, shed a lot of light in terms of how dangerous making sentiments and comments like that, and how that could actually incite violence on the Muslim and the Somali community in Minnesota.
Right. I mean, let's talk about Ilhan Omar, because it seems like she is just, as she jokes that she lives inside the head of many people who just cannot apparently deal with the sight of a Muslim, hijabi, female congresswoman, immigrant, refugee from Somalia. They just cannot seem to stomach the sight of her, and there's just an obsession with Ilhan Omar, and we know that she receives death threats. We know that she has just been attacked from all sides. How does this? Are there concerns about her? Why the focus on her in Minnesota, and how does the community respond to that?
We know that Black women are the individuals who are under the most attack, let alone Black women who wear the hijab. So with that being said, they understand that she is a Muslim representative, and it's great to have a Muslim voice that is representing the Muslim community in Minnesota, and also that winning Minnesota is a pivotal state for the Trump campaign. So when we see attacks, and hate-filled, is just to create divisiveness, and to also undermine a lot of the good work that is being done for the state of Minnesota, especially to have representation of Muslims in walking down the halls of Congress.
Yeah. So essentially, it's to some extent, a lot of this is politics, using Muslims, Somali Americans as a political football. And, that's, I guess, expected in politics, as horrible as it is. But the problem is, this is dangerous. You could end up getting people, may Allah forbid, hurt or worse when you accuse communities of being, dangerous or destabilizing. This can have some real dangerous real-world effects on people, in particular Ilhan Omar, because she's so visible, so noticeable in Minnesota and in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and if I could also add that we do see the disinformation machine, at work here, especially in the state of Minnesota. We've seen disinformation campaigns that were put out in the states of Texas and in the states of California to demonize Hispanic and Latino citizens, and now we're also seeing it happen to the Muslims in Minnesota. So when it comes to disinformation, you do see a lot of false claims of and a lot of attempts to undermine this upcoming election, especially when it comes to voting through the ballots. But we do know that all they want is for us to respond, because that would give disinformation networks the credibility that they are looking for. And usually what they do is they wait for a response and then they run with it. But we do know that a lot of these claims are manufactured, and they are there to create divisiveness and to also make a lot of individuals or try to attempt to make individuals question the legitimacy of this upcoming election. But we've been working with a lot of our media sources and a lot of internal organizations that were quick to stand with us and stand by us while we try to dismantle this disinformation attempt.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of this incident that occurred over the past week, with the video that was put online, I noticed that very quickly it was mainstream media outlets that debunked this, that pointed out that this was nonsense, that it was a clearly deliberate effort to deceive and frighten people in the state of Minnesota about what is happening with the elections. And so I'm glad to hear that mainstream media sources, kind of reported on this and debunked it, because it really should not have to be the community that has to defend themselves. If someone comes up to you and says you're a bank robber, you're not a bank robber. Why do you even have to respond and dignify that with a response, right? It's beneath you to have to respond and explain why you are not a bank robber, And so I'm glad to see that mainstream reporters quickly stepped in and recognized this for what it is. So going forward, what are you saying? Is the community there motivated to get out and vote? And again, we don't tell people who to vote for. That is outside of our responsibility. Our responsibility is to encourage people to vote. So no matter who people are voting for, are people there motivated to get out and vote despite all the crazy stuff that's been happening over the past few weeks?
Definitely, and especially when you talk about the Cedar Riverside area, they vote at an unprecedented 96%. So they do come out, they do turn out to vote, and everybody understands the importance of this election because of this administration's attempts to stifle the rights that should be enjoyed by everybody. And we've seen, poor legislation that came out that was targeting Muslims, and as well as individuals within these communities that had, seen negative repercussions from those, policies that did come out. So they understand that how important for them to voice, their concerns, as well as the importance of this historic election that is up and coming. And there are, calls that were made, and there's a threat that is being echoed that individuals will be there at polls on the voting day to intimidate voters. But we will not stand by that, and we will make sure that individuals at least go out and exercise their rights to vote.
Right, and so there's this concern that people might be sent as quote unquote poll watchers in an attempt to try to intimidate voters. And poll watching is legal, but you have to usually, in most states, you have to get pre-approved. You can only have one person from each political party. You can't interfere with people trying to vote. I mean, there are all sorts of rules depending on what state you're in. And so there's a concern that certain people, far-right extremists, might try to show up and frighten people out of voting, deter people from voting, or interfere with the process. And so I'm glad to hear that people are not deterred, that, whether anyone is voting for President Trump, Vice President Biden, the Green Party, Libertarian Party, Mickey Mouse, whoever you are voting for, that you have the right to vote, and you have the right to make your voice heard safely and have your ballot counted. That's all we at CAIR can ask, and all we do ask. So we encourage everyone in Minnesota to get out to vote. Whoever you want to vote for, get out and vote, make your voice heard on November 3rd, inshallah. And when I say inshallah, I mean it in the real way it's supposed to be meant, not in the sarcastic or mocking way. And that's all I'll say about that, inshallah. Brother Muhammad, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Jazakallah khairan. We'll be in touch. Please stay safe out there in Minnesota. And we wish everyone in your state of all political backgrounds well in getting through this election safely and securely, inshallah.
Thanks, brother.
Right. Thank you. And all of you, thank you for joining us on today's episode of CAIR on Air, the Muslim Action Hour. We will look forward to seeing you again next week, Tuesday at 3 o'clock, inshallah. However, tomorrow, we encourage you to check out CAIR's Facebook page. We will be announcing the results of our survey of American Muslim voters about issues related to the 2020 election, inshallah. We're going to be analyzing and announcing where the polls stand for Muslims in terms of their vote preference, their political leanings, the issues that are important to them. Again, as CAIR, our only job is to try to make sure we're encouraging people to be civically and politically engaged and to make sure that you are making your voices heard however you want to make your voices heard. Thank you so much. Until we see you again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you.